Elena Rivera's sneakers squeaked against the polished marble floor of Mercy General's executive wing. At 3 in the morning, exhaustion pressed against her shoulders like a physical weight. She'd worked a double shift, and tomorrow she'd need to figure out how to pay Daniel's latest treatment bill. The eviction notice stuffed in her scrub's pocket felt like it was burning through the fabric. Room 2847 housed Manhattan's most private patient, Adrian Blackwell. Even exhausted, Elena recognized the name. Tech billionaire. Reclusive. The kind of wealthy that made hospital administrators nervous and attentive. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. She knocked softly before entering. The suite looked nothing like a hospital room, more like a five-star hotel with medical equipment tucked discreetly into corners. The man by the window turned at her entrance, and Elena felt her breath catch despite herself. Adrian Blackwell was younger than she'd expected, maybe mid-30s, with dark hair that fell across his forehead and eyes that assessed her with unsettling intensity. His hand trembled slightly as he set down his phone, though he tried to hide it. "Miss Rivera," he said, his voice low and controlled. "You're efficient. I've been watching." Elena's professional mask slipped slightly. "I'm sorry. Don't be. I appreciate competence." He moved toward the leather chair near his bed, each step measured and careful. "I've been watching you work these past 3 nights. You're different from the others. You actually care." Elena checked his vitals chart, uncomfortable with the direction of this conversation. "It's my job to care, Mr. Blackwell." "Adrian. And it's more than that." His eyes held hers. "You treat every patient like they matter, regardless of their room number or insurance coverage. That's rare." Before she could respond, a distinguished man in an expensive suit entered. He carried a leather portfolio and had the efficient air of someone used to handling delicate matters. "James Wong, Mr. Blackwell's attorney." The man introduced himself, extending his hand. Elena shook it, confusion deepening. Adrian gestured for her to sit. "Miss Rivera, I have a proposition for you. An unusual one, but I think you'll find the terms compelling." Elena remained standing, her nursing instincts on alert. "Mr. Blackwell, if this is inappropriate." "My father recently passed," Adrian interrupted, his voice carefully neutral. "His will contain certain requirements. I must marry within 6 months or lose control of my company to my cousin Marcus." He paused, watching her reaction. "I need a wife. You need money. I'm proposing a business arrangement." The room seemed to tilt. "Excuse me. A contract marriage. 1 year. $2 million, plus full coverage of your brother Daniel's medical expenses. All treatment costs, experimental therapies, everything." Adrian's tone remained businesslike, as if negotiating a merger rather than a marriage. "I've had you investigated. I know about the leukemia, the medical debt, the eviction notice." Elena's face flushed with anger and humiliation. "You had me investigated?" "I investigate everyone I do business with." Adrian leaned forward, and she saw the tremor in his hands worsen. "This is business, Miss Rivera. Nothing more. Separate lives, separate bedrooms. We appear together at necessary functions, maintain the appearance of marriage for the required time. Then we divorce, you walk away financially secure, and I retain my company." "This is insane." Elena moved toward the door, but his next words stopped her. "Your brother's next treatment cycle starts in 2 weeks. You don't have the money. The hospital is already discussing payment plans you can't afford." Adrian's voice softened slightly. "I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm offering a solution that benefits us both." James Wong slid a contract across the nearby table. "Everything is detailed here. We're not asking for an immediate answer, but—" "48 hours," Adrian interrupted. "I need your decision in 48 hours, Miss Rivera. I suggest you read the contract carefully, and perhaps visit your brother before you decide." Elena stared at the document, her mind racing. This was insane, impossible, probably immoral. She was a nurse, not some woman who could be bought. But Daniel's face flashed through her mind. Pale, weak, trying to smile through the pain. 48 hours, she heard herself say, taking the contract with shaking hands. At 4 in the morning, Elena sat in the hospital cafeteria, a marriage contract spread before her like a confession. Party A, Adrian Blackwell. Party B, Elena Rivera. A year-long agreement, separate rooms, no intimacy, $2 million and full medical coverage for her brother, Daniel. Dr. Sarah Chun slid into the seat across from her. Legal papers at 4 a.m.? That's never good. Elena told her everything. Adrian's cold proposal, the money, the desperation. Sarah listened, then said quietly, "Hearts don't respect contracts, Elena. Be careful." When Elena visited Daniel, his frail hands clutched a sketchbook. "We can't afford this anymore," he said softly. "Maybe it's time to stop treatment." "No," she said fiercely. But Daniel's tired eyes told her the truth. She was drowning. Then came the thought she'd been avoiding, the contract. "What if I had a way to pay for everything?" she said, pulling it out. Daniel stared. "You can't sell yourself for me." "It's business," she insisted. 2 days later, Elena stood in Adrian's penthouse, pen in hand. "You're asking me to live your lie," she told him. He met her gaze. "You're the only one who ever saw me as human." She signed. "To the next year," she said. "God help us both." Moving into Adrian Blackwell's Fifth Avenue penthouse felt surreal, luxurious, vast, and utterly lifeless. James Wong showed Elena to a suite larger than her old apartment and warned, "Adrian's not easy, but he's good underneath." Alone, Elena unpacked Daniel's photo, her only piece of home. Adrian appeared later, tense but polite. "I'll try to make this year as painless as possible," he said. His unexpected gentleness disarmed her. The next morning, they married in a courthouse. 15 minutes, 2 witnesses, no romance. Yet when Adrian kissed her, Elena's heart fluttered. That evening, at the Bennett Foundation Gala, they debuted as the perfect couple. Elena, transformed in emerald silk, clung to Adrian's steady presence as he guided her through New York's elite. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time. So if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Then came Victoria Blackwell Crane, sharp, cold, suspicious. She cornered Elena in the powder room. "Are you after his money?" she demanded. "No," Elena replied. "Your brother made me an offer. I accepted, but I'll never hurt him." Later, in the car, Adrian's hand trembled. "Stress worsens it," he admitted quietly. Without thinking, Elena steadied his hand. "I won't let it happen. That's not in the contract." "I know," she said softly. Day 1 complete, she texted Daniel. Still breathing. 3 weeks into their marriage, Elena and Adrian lived like ghosts under the same roof. He left before dawn, returned past midnight, and buried himself in work. She took hospital night shifts, visited Daniel by day, and avoided him. The contract said it was fine, but it was destroying them. Elena noticed his worsening tremors, his confusion, his exhaustion. When Dr. Chin mentioned Adrian had skipped neurology appointments, Elena could no longer ignore it. That night, she waited up. Finding him pale and unfed, she made him scrambled eggs. He confessed, quietly, "I'm scared. I feel myself disappearing." She met his fear with calm resolve. "Let me help. Contract or not." Soon, her observations revealed a pattern. His symptoms worsened with stress, not time. During a tense dinner with his sister Victoria, he collapsed. Panic, not disease. In the car home, Elena said what neither dared voice. "Adrian, what if you were misdiagnosed? What if this isn't degenerative, it's trauma?" He resisted, then faltered. "If you're wrong, then we keep trying. But if I'm right, you're not dying." That night, in the quiet kitchen, he whispered, "I don't know how to heal." "We'll figure it out together," Elena said. He managed to smile. Partners. Dr. Sarah Chin's office felt nothing like a clinic. Warm light, soft chairs, and calm energy. Adrian sat stiffly beside Elena as Sarah began her assessment. She didn't just ask about symptoms, but about him, his childhood, stress, and family. For once, Adrian had no boardroom answers. When she finished, Sarah said gently, "You're not dying. You're traumatized. Your body's reacting to years of stress and emotional abuse." Adrian's jaw tightened. "So I'm crazy?" "No. You've been surviving too long." She referred him to Dr. James Morrison, a trauma specialist. Therapy hit like a wrecking ball. After his first session, Adrian confessed, shaking. He asked about my mother. The story spilled out. Her quiet kindness, his father's cruelty, the accident that stole her. "I wasn't allowed to cry," he whispered. Elena held him as years of grief broke free. "You're not weak, Adrian. You're healing." For the first time, he let himself cry. In the weeks that followed, he kept going. Therapy, shared dinners, even laughter. Daniel grew stronger, and so did Adrian. But when Marcus Blackwell appeared, smirking about 6 months left, the illusion of peace shattered. Their contract might have started as business, but what they had now was anything but fake. Days settled into a rhythm Elena hadn't expected. Shared coffee at sunrise, quiet companionship, and Daniel's laughter filling the penthouse. Adrian had hired an illustrator to mentor her brother, watching his progress with pride. "He's important to you," Adrian said softly. "That makes him important to me." At a charity gala, Marcus approached with a serpent smile. "Mental health can be destabilizing for leadership," he said. When Adrian faltered, Elena stepped in. "He's getting treatment. That's strength, not weakness." Marcus's smirk made it clear he suspected the truth. That night, Adrian paced. "He'll expose us. The contract, everything." "Then let's give him nothing to expose," Elena said, heart pounding. "What if we made this real?" When Adrian kissed her, every wall between them fell. They made love for the first time, no longer pretending. Morning sunlight found them wrapped together, Adrian whispering, "I love you." Then he confessed, "I'm not dying. The diagnosis was wrong. You're free, Elena. You can leave." Tears filled her eyes. "I'm not leaving. I choose you." Their joy didn't last long. James Wong's call shattered the peace. Marcus had obtained evidence of their contract marriage. He was calling an emergency board meeting. The war had begun. The boardroom felt like a battlefield. Adrian sat at the head of the table, Elena beside him. Marcus arrived last, confident and armed with their old contract. "This proves Adrian's marriage was a fraud," he declared. Gasps rippled through the room. Adrian stood. "The contract is real, but so is our marriage. It began as business, but became love." Victoria rose beside him. "Our father forced that will to control Adrian. But Elena healed him. This isn't fraud, it's recovery." Dr. Sarah Chun entered next. Adrian was misdiagnosed with a degenerative disease. His real condition is PTSD. Elena saw what others missed and got him help. That's love, not deception. James Wong produced new papers. The original contract was dissolved 3 weeks ago. Their marriage is now voluntary, without financial terms. Then Daniel arrived, pale but determined. "They're real," he told the board. "Adrian helped me, loved my sister, and made her laugh again. If you destroy that, you're making a mistake." Silence. Then Chairman Harrison said, "Adrian met the will's terms. Married, stable, healed. This meeting is adjourned." Marcus stormed out, furious. Elena exhaled, gripping Adrian's hand. They'd won. Not just the company, but the right to love freely, contract or not. The aftermath of the board meeting rippled through Adrian's world like an earthquake. Business publications ran speculative articles about the dramatic family confrontation. Investors called seeking reassurance. Marcus hired attorneys to challenge the board's decision, filing motions that James Wong had to counter daily. But through the chaos, Adrian found himself unexpectedly grounded. Dr. Morrison increased their therapy sessions to 3 times a week, helping him process not just childhood trauma, but the stress of the current battle. Elena attended when she could, her presence a steady anchor. "Your father taught you that vulnerability was weakness," Dr. Morrison said during one session. "But you've just demonstrated the opposite. You stood in front of your board and admitted to fear, to needing help, to loving someone. That's not weakness, Adrian. That's courage." Adrian glanced at Elena, who sat beside him, her hand in his. "I couldn't have done it without her." "Maybe not, but you did do it. That matters." The sessions were exhausting, forcing Adrian to confront memories he'd buried for decades. The night his mother died and his father's cold dismissal. The boarding school years spent alone. The impossible standards that made every achievement feel insufficient. The panic attacks he'd hidden since adolescence, believing they made him broken. Elena was there for all of it, holding him through breakdowns, celebrating small victories, reminding him that healing wasn't linear. But the legal battle intensified. Marcus's attorneys argued that Adrian's mental health diagnosis proved instability. They subpoenaed medical records, therapy notes, anything to paint him as unfit for leadership. The board split into factions, those who stood with Adrian and those who saw Marcus as a safer bet. "He's using your healing against you," Elena said one night, watching Adrian review legal briefs with exhausted eyes. "I know. The irony is spectacular. Adrian rubbed his face. I finally get help, finally start recovering, and it becomes ammunition. Then we fight back. Elena's voice turned fierce. We show them that getting treatment makes you stronger, not weaker. That acknowledging problems is leadership, not failure. James Wong orchestrated a media strategy. They arranged interviews where Adrian spoke candidly about mental health, PTSD, and the stigma around seeking help. The response was overwhelming. Executives from other companies reaching out to share their own struggles, young professionals thanking him for normalizing therapy. Victoria became an unexpected ally, using her diplomatic connections to rally support. She arranged a dinner with key board members, speaking publicly about their father's abuse for the first time. Our father destroyed lives through his cruelty, Victoria told the assembled executives. Adrian could have perpetuated that cycle. Instead, he broke it. He chose healing over hiding. That's the kind of leader this company needs. But Marcus played his final card during a televised industry panel. With cameras rolling, he questioned Adrian's judgment, his fitness, his ability to handle pressure. My cousin is a brilliant man, but he's admitted to suffering from PTSD and panic attacks. In the high-stakes world of tech leadership, we need stability. Adrian, also on the panel, interrupted. You're absolutely right, Marcus. We need stability. And do you know what's not stable? Pretending you're fine when you're not. Refusing help because you're afraid of appearing weak. Letting untreated trauma dictate your decisions. He looked directly at the camera. I have PTSD. I'm in treatment. I'm getting better. And I'm a better CEO because of it. More empathetic, more thoughtful, more genuine. Mental health isn't a disqualification. Ignoring it is. The panel erupted in applause. On social media, the clip went viral. #RealLeadership trended worldwide. Marcus's support began to crumble. One by one, his planted board members defected, unwilling to be seen opposing mental health awareness. Investors released statements supporting Adrian's transparency. Even competitors praised his courage. 2 weeks later, the board held a vote of confidence. Adrian Blackwell retained his position as CEO by a margin of 8-3. Marcus, humiliated and defeated, resigned from the board entirely. That night, Elena found Adrian on their penthouse balcony, staring at the city lights. You won, she said softly, sliding her arms around him from behind. We won. Adrian turned in her embrace. I couldn't have done any of this without you, Elena. You gave me the courage to be honest, to be vulnerable. You saved me. You saved yourself. I just believed in you until you could believe in yourself. Adrian kissed her, slow and deep, pouring everything he felt into the contact. When they finally broke apart, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Elena's breath caught. I know we're already married, Adrian said, opening the box to reveal a stunning ring. Nothing like the practical band from their courthouse wedding. But I want to do this right. Elena Rivera, I love you more than I knew was possible. Will you marry me again? For real this time? Tears streamed down Elena's face. Yes, absolutely yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, and Elena realized it wasn't just a marriage proposal. It was a promise. A future they'd built together from ruins and contracts and unexpected love. 6 months after the board vote, Elena stood in the bathroom of Adrian's penthouse, their penthouse now, staring at a pregnancy test. 2 pink lines looked back at her with life-altering clarity. She and Adrian had talked about children someday, in that abstract way newlyweds did. But someday had arrived faster than expected. Her hands shook as she wrapped the test and tucked it in her pocket. Adrian was in his study, reviewing quarterly reports. She found him behind his desk, reading glasses perched on his nose. A recent addition he'd initially resisted until she'd told him they made him look distinguished. Hey, she said from the doorway. Got a minute? Adrian looked up with the smile that still made her heart flutter. For you? Always. What's up? Elena crossed the room and placed the pregnancy test on his desk without a word. Adrian stared at it, his expression cycling through confusion, comprehension, and then pure, unfiltered joy. Elena, we're pregnant. Yes. Elena watched his face carefully. I know we didn't plan this yet, and if you're not ready. Adrian was around the desk in seconds, pulling her into his arms, lifting her off her feet as he laughed, a sound of such complete happiness that Elena's fears evaporated. Not ready? Elena, this is the best news I've ever received. You're having our baby. He set her down gently, immediately worried. Should you be on your feet? Do you need to sit down? Should we call Dr. Chun? Elena laughed through happy tears. Adrian, I'm pregnant, not fragile. But yes, we should schedule an appointment soon. That evening, they told Daniel over dinner. Her brother, now 17 and in remission, stared at them in shock before breaking into a huge grin. I'm going to be an uncle? Daniel's eyes shone. That's incredible. Though I have to say, you two don't waste time. Went from fake marriage to baby in less than a year. When you know, Adrian said, his hand finding Elena's across the table. The pregnancy progressed smoothly. Adrian became adorably overprotective, insisting Elena cut back her hospital shifts, hiring a private chef to ensure proper nutrition, researching cribs and car seats with the same intensity he applied to business deals. You know, people have babies all the time without researching 50 different stroller brands, Elena teased, watching him compare specifications on his laptop. Our baby deserves the best. Adrian looked up seriously. And so do you. Elena, I want to do something. I've been thinking about this for a while, but with the baby coming, it feels right. He pulled out a folder. I want to establish the Rivera Blackwell Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to providing medical care access for families who can't afford treatment. Free cancer care for children, support for caregivers, everything you and Daniel needed but didn't have. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Hormones made her cry at everything lately. Adrian, that's beautiful. I want you to run it. I know you love nursing, but you've always wanted to help on a larger scale. This way, you can make policy, not just treat individual patients. And we can work together. I'll handle business operations, you handle medical oversight. It was perfect. Elena threw her arms around him. Yes, absolutely yes. The foundation launched 3 months later with a gala that raised $15 million. Elena, visibly pregnant and glowing, gave a speech about her father's preventable death, her brother's struggle, and the hope this foundation represented. Healthcare shouldn't be a privilege, she said to the assembled donors. It's a human right. And tonight, we take the first step toward making that real for families who are drowning, just like mine was. The applause was deafening. Backstage, Adrian held her close. You're incredible. You know that. We're incredible, Elena corrected. Partners, remember? Their vow renewal ceremony took place in the penthouse garden with only intimate friends and family. No press, no board members, no performance, just the people who mattered. Maggie Patterson, Adrian's childhood nanny, flew in specially to attend. The elderly woman wept through the entire ceremony, overjoyed to see her boy finally happy. Victoria served as Elena's matron of honor. Their relationship transformed from antagonistic to sisterly. Daniel walked Elena down the aisle, pride evident on his healthy face. They exchanged new vows they'd written themselves. Adrian went first, his voice thick with emotion. Elena, you walked into my life when I'd given up on genuine connection. You saw past the money, the walls, the fear, and found something worth loving. You taught me that vulnerability is strength, that asking for help is courage, that love isn't a transaction, it's a choice. I choose you, every day, for the rest of our lives. Elena's turn came through tears. Adrian, you asked me to pretend to be your wife, and I said yes for all the wrong reasons. But somewhere between the contract and the chaos, you became my home. You showed me that healing is possible, that love can grow in unexpected places, that we're all worthy of being chosen. I choose you, freely and completely, forever. When they kissed, it felt like every promise finally fulfilled. 3 years later, Elena stood in the nursery of their home. They bought a brownstone in Brooklyn for more space and less isolation, watching Adrian rock their daughter Sophia to sleep. At 2 years old, she had Elena's dark hair and Adrian's intense eyes, and she'd wrapped her father completely around her tiny finger. Daniel, now 20 and thriving at art school, had designed the nursery murals, whimsical scenes from the graphic novel he'd published last year. The book, dedicated to Elena and Adrian, told the story of a boy who learned that surviving wasn't the same as living, and that sometimes the people who save you are the ones you save in return. The Rivera Blackwell Foundation had grown beyond their wildest dreams. They'd opened 3 care centers, funded research into pediatric cancers, and provided support to over 5,000 families. Elena balanced motherhood with running the foundation, while Adrian had restructured his company to prioritize work-life balance, both for himself and his employees. Dr. Morrison remained Adrian's therapist. Those sessions were monthly now instead of weekly. The PTSD would always be part of Adrian's story, but it no longer controlled his narrative. He'd learned to manage symptoms, to ask for help, to forgive himself for not being perfect. Marcus had moved to California, starting a competing firm that struggled to gain traction. They'd heard he'd entered therapy himself, a small victory Elena celebrated privately. Victoria visited weekly, her relationship with James Crane stronger than ever. She'd become Sophia's favorite aunt, spoiling her outrageously and teaching her to say fierce as her first two-syllable word. "She's asleep," Adrian whispered, carefully placing Sophia in her crib. They tiptoed out, leaving the door cracked. In their bedroom, Elena found the envelope she'd been saving. "I have something for you." Adrian took it curiously, pulling out a document. His eyes widened as he read. "This is our original contract. The one you kept. I found it while organizing old files. Look at the date, 4 years ago today. We signed this 4 years ago." Adrian stared at the clinical language, the financial terms, the emotional distance built into every clause. God, we were so lost. "We were," Elena agreed, taking the contract from him. "But we found each other anyway." She walked to their fireplace and held the paper over the flames. "I think it's time we let this go completely." They watched the contract burn, for years of transformation turning to ash. "Do you remember what you asked me that night?" Elena said softly. "After the board meeting, when everything was falling apart?" Adrian pulled her close. "I asked what we were, what this was, and I said we should make it real." Elena looked up at him. "But the truth is, it was already real. We just needed the courage to admit it. You gave me that courage." Adrian kissed her forehead, along with everything else. "Hope, healing, a family, a life I never imagined possible. You gave me the same. When you asked me to pretend to be married, I thought I was sacrificing myself for Daniel, but I was really saving myself." Elena touched his face gently. "You taught me that I deserved to be chosen, not just to be needed." A cry came from the nursery, Sophia awake already. They both laughed. "Parenthood," Adrian said wryly. "So much for romantic moments." "This is the romantic moment," Elena corrected, watching him head toward their daughter's room. "This life we built. This family we chose. This love that refused to stay contractual." Later, after Sophia was resettled, they sat on their brownstone's front steps, watching Brooklyn wake up around them. Daniel would arrive for Sunday brunch soon. Victoria had promised to bring her famous scones. Maggie was visiting next week. The foundation board meeting was Tuesday. Life was full and real and beautifully complicated. "Hey," Adrian said suddenly. "I never thanked you properly." "For what?" "For saying yes. That first time, in the hospital, when I made that insane proposal." Adrian took her hand, running his thumb over her wedding ring. "The real one, not the contract one. You could have walked away. Told me I was crazy. But you took a chance." Elena smiled. "You asked me to pretend we were married. Do you remember what my answer was? You said okay, but only because of Daniel." "No." Elena's eyes sparkled. "What I said was okay. Just okay. Not with conditions or caveats. Just okay." She leaned into him. "I think some part of me knew, even then, that this was going to change everything." "And has it? Changed everything?" Elena looked at their brownstone, thought about their daughter sleeping inside, her thriving brother, the foundation helping families like hers used to be, and the man beside her who'd started as a desperate billionaire and become her partner in every sense. "Yes," she said simply. "It changed everything. You asked me to pretend we were married, Adrian Blackwell. And my answer, my real answer, was always yes. Not to pretending. Just yes to you." Adrian pulled her close, his voice rough with emotion. "Elena Rivera Blackwell, I love you. I love you too. Always have, from that very first okay." They sat together as the sun rose higher, no longer pretending, no longer performing, just being exactly what they'd accidentally become. A love story that started with a contract and became something neither of them could have scripted. The billionaire had asked his nurse to pretend they were married. Her answer, then and always, left him speechless with gratitude. Because some promises, even the ones that start as pretend, become the most real thing you'll ever know. Up next, we have 2 more incredible stories that are waiting for you. Just click the image you want to watch, and it will take you there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. It would mean a lot.